Alien Volt here, and this was The Deadlinger. Alright, so what is The Deadlinger? Deadlinger was a game that was similar to DayZ. They started production around 2012 in it. It was a Kickstarter game. Ended up being an early access title on Steam. They had a lot of hopes for this game, I guess, but I don't really think they had the talent to pull it off. They ended up switching engines several times, I think 3 total, and the game just never ran very well, and it was extremely buggy. But those of us that purchased the game to help develop this game, so it gives the developers money, and they can then in turn continue development and hopefully finish the product. At the very least, give us something that was playable during a time period, which they really struggled to do. The entire time I tried this game several times throughout the course of development, I always struggled to play it. It never really ran that well. It never looked all that great. But it had potential to at least be a fun game. Now, when this game originally started out, it was about the same time period as DayZ, so there really wasn't a lot of zombie games out there. And they were trying to make their mark with something a little different than DayZ. A lot more zombies. You had hordes of zombies, and at first they all looked the same, which was ridiculous and not very immersive at all. But then they started doing updates, and they ended up making them so all the zombies looked different when they were around each other. They had different types. And that was a good start. Now, the disappointing parts about this game, and there's a lot of them, far outweigh any good things about it. Now, they closed the doors on this at the end of 2015, and I made this video in the beginning of 2016. Only at the time I had taken a break from posting videos on YouTube because I had some issues with SLI on my PC and Windows 10, and I just needed a break. But I kept playing and I kept recording. I just didn't really actually submit the videos, which is a problem because now I have a pile of media sitting on my hard drive that I need to go through and either delete or make the videos. And at first I wasn't going to make this video because, well, it's been a year since they closed the doors. But at the same time, I wanted to include something saying, okay, this game's done. I'm not going to be making any more videos on it, because it's not finished. They stopped production on it. This is as far as it's ever going to get. Now, they did make it so that way you could play the game if you owned it forever, as long as it'll upload and run. But the state of the game that it's actually in is horrible. The combat's really bad. The shooting's not very good. The buildings aren't great either. I mean, the doors barely work. You've got roads that are still, and buildings as well, up above the map, so you can see a space underneath them. I mean, I don't know what they did for 3 years, but it's hard to say they did much. I mean, they bought most of their assets. They didn't have artists working on them, so they were placeholders. Yeah, they're placeholders. Well, the whole game is placeholders, basically. So I don't really understand what they were doing this 3 years that they were working on this game other than switching engines constantly, because the first ones didn't support all the players and the NPCs on there. Poor planning, poor development led to a failed game. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's too bad. This game had some potential. It could have been fun. I mean, when you play a zombie game, a zombie survival game, you want to see zombies. And when you're playing DayZ, it's rare to run into a zombie, which is unfortunate. I mean, that was a game where the cities were supposed to turn into zombies, so you expect to see hordes of zombies. I mean, hundreds of them walking around the cities, and you just don't. The only thing positive I can really say about this development team is at least they took their game off of Steam. When they stopped development and they were no longer going to support the game, they no longer charged people money for it. They no longer sold it. They didn't offer it up to be free either. That would have been a positive. At least it would have kept people playing it that actually, paid money. But not that it would have done any good. The game's broken. Now, one thing they did do was they offered up the Unity version of this, and in doing so, they said you can mod it all you want, make the game anything you want to do to play it, but you just can't sell it or, make a profit off of it. Which I guess was a positive for people who wanted to take the time to do that. I don't know really why you would at this point. What this game ends up being is a perfect example of why early access games need to change. At least the way they're sold on Steam. Because there's no guarantee these games are ever going to get finished. Most of the time you have an inexperienced team working on these games. And they have a vision, they have a concept. They want to build a good game. And then they get into it and just can't get it done. For whatever reason. And there's no recourse to get your money back. Once you have 2 hours into the game, Steam's return policy is garbage. You can't get your money back. You're stuck with it. And because of this, people are looking for new ways to do early access. Like there's a program that's in Kickstarter called Early Ninja. And there's been some positives and negative things about it. But one of the things they are doing through their platform or trying to get done is that developers come to them to put their games on early access. Like you would do on Steam, the only difference is the money that you use to support the developer is stored basically by Early Ninja, who would then pay the developers a percentage of that money as the game is completed. So you would have a timeline, basically, or at the very least, a development plan. And as you get further along in the development plan, you would be paid for that by the people who are backing your project, but it would be done in stages so that if the game wasn't finished, a portion of your money would be returned. Which sounds great from a consumer perspective, but at the same time, the developers obviously aren't going for it. They're like, wait a minute, you're holding our money, we're not getting it, and if we don't finish the product, we don't get paid? Yeah, that's pretty much the bottom line. And there should be a system like that in place. The only problems is that Early Ninja is in a trial phase, and no developers are going to sign with them when they can go to Steam and get all their money up front without any repercussions for not finishing their project. If they don't finish their product, oh well, we got your money, no worries. So something needs to be done. Something in the industry needs to happen, or we're going to get stuck with the dead linger over and over and over again. All in all, I don't think I really lost too much money on this game. I might have paid $10 for it, maybe $20. Even if I paid $20 for it, that's like going out and eating lunch someplace. Maybe not fast food, then it's like $10. But, you go any place and you have a decent lunch, you're going to spend like $17 to $20 easy. So, not that big of a deal, but at the same time, it sucks. You support something, you want to see it through. You want to see the final product, and you may like it or you may not. I mean, it may change over the course of the development cycle to where you're like, fuck this game, it sucks. But at the same time, you want to see what it finishes up to be, and this game never got that far. It crashed. It crashed and burned. They abandoned it, and you're left with this unfinished product that looks like it was put together by some students trying to do a demo of a game. I mean, that's basically what you've got here. You've got something that's so rough and runs so poorly that it's not even a game. 3 years and this is what you're left with. Not good. And this is why early access titles are starting to fail now, because people are less likely to buy into them because they're not being finished. They're being abandoned. And no one wants to put money in and support a product that's never going to happen. And the sad thing is the industry is only getting worse. 90% of the titles put on Steam now, the new titles, are all indie titles that will likely never be finished or never result in the final product that they advertise. And that's horrible. There's no protections as a consumer outside of just not investing in these games. And that's what I recommend people stop doing. Stop investing in early access titles. Unless you truly believe in the product and the studio that's producing it and developing it actually have a track record of delivering quality games. Outside of that, I'm going to start veering away from early access titles because they just don't pan out. They're not worth it. So whatever happened to Sand Sweep after they canceled the Deadlinger and walked away from it? Oh, they're going to be working on other games because they have experience in the engines. Really? This is your experience? I mean, this is not something I'd want on my resume. Not if you want to be hired somewhere. And as far as buying another one of their games, that's not going to happen. You burn me once, shame on you. You burn me twice, shame on me. Alright, well, I'm going to wrap this video up here. The Deadlinger is dead. As always, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video update on the Deadlinger. And thanks for listening to me rant about early access. And I'll see you next time.